Good day, and welcome to the November Omaha Linux Users Group. Oh, I stand over here so it doesn't look like my crotch on the screen all the time.
I'm glad we're broadcasting.
That's right, and recording too, so that'll be recorded as well. So has everybody had a good October?
Yes.
Yes? I see that Linux kernel 3.1 is out. Oh, by the way, I'm Jon Larsen. I'm the systems engineer at the Institute. You already all know that.
Hi, John.
However, for the viewers at home who may not know that, that's who I am. And I apologize for not having as much sleep as you think I did. Okay, so kernel 3.1 is out. Don't worry about it. Aaron, did you follow that release? I didn't get a chance to follow that release. More than some of the Sandy Bridge stuff is better in 3.1.
I didn't see a whole lot really new. The stuff, double device drivers, the ARM stuff got updated, of course.
Okay.
I'm trying to get my little patch finished and then the rest of the time.
So 3.2 is going to be the next.
What about OpenBS? No.
So
I'm trying to make some room for BS help too.
You shrunk.
So I honestly thought that it would be like 3.0, 3.01, 3.02, but no, it went 3.1. And now they're working on 3.2.
Go with the next one. Interesting.
So are they just ditching the third with the minor number altogether?
Yeah, why not? No, the last number still used for the stable ones, there was like 3102, there's another
Oh,
maintainer does that.
okay, okay.
The base parallel stuff, because there's like 2639, the guy keeps adding on to that one. They're gonna have 3.0 is gonna be the stable one for a while, they'll do some releasing against that.
Okay.
They're not gonna release extra fast, catch software.
Now, the Fedora folks kind of got around the whole thing. It actually is running 3, but they've put the version number 2640 as their version number, because it may break several of the init scripts. So they're leaving all that.
I didn't know I was running 3 point whatever.
Yeah. Yes, so you're on the more recent version. It's like if people try to go look up 2640, it's like it doesn't exist. So.
Red Hat does. Not entirely sure about some of their stuff.
The Ubuntu Developer Summit kicked off yesterday. Anybody paying attention? Mark Shuttleworth came out and said, hey, we're going to go for tablets and phones and you name it, we'll be there for you.
But you said by the end of 2015.
Yes, 2013, 2015.
And suck up and use of Unity.
Yeah. What's that?
He also said power users are just elitist snobs for not using Unity.
Yeah, I read that too.
Unity doesn't run on my hardware.
There you
Unity
go.
runs like shit on many hardware slots.
It doesn't run at all on my hardware.
Oh, they're working on Unity.
Where's Dave Thacker?
Unity
He should be
Open source
here.
is all about using what somebody else tells you you have to use. Don't forget. Oh, that's right.
The
I
illusion
got
is
crossed
right.
up. Thank you.
Do a distro poll again in the room. Yeah, I was listening to it on Tech News Today yesterday, and they actually gave it about 5 or 6 minutes of discussion, which is interesting because, you know, they might have Linux mentioned in the news views, but not necessarily in the main show. So that's nice. Of course, they don't talk about any other distros, but that's okay. I guess it all trickles down to us at some point. You may not be using Ubuntu. Craig, are you still using OpenSUSE?
It's okay. We're not here to judge.
You don't have any OpenSUSEs at machines at your new place? Or?
No, the new office is all Microsoft, all Windows,
I said
all Microsoft. So
Sorry.
Who's got to get his foot in the door?
doesn't mean that's going to change.
I'm using.
At least in some places where it makes sense, but no, it's just a case of that's what they sit at. And now once I get my replacement laptop, I'll be running probably OpenSUSE on
Do
it.
we triple?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you get a 15? Is that what you ordered?
The only way to convert
Okay.
all Microsoft shops is to get somebody that knows the better way into them.
Wow. Not inviting you over
Now-
for dinner.
that's the attitude two people took who work at a local Domino's, who burned down the Papa John's next door because they wanted to get rid of the
Heard about
competition.
that.
So that's some hot pizza.
Where did that happen? Is that here?
No, it wasn't here.
I just saw the headlines, I didn't look into it.
That was
Yeah.
fun.
Yes, they got arrested.
Don't know why.
Yeah. So, okay,
They didn't burn down both pizza places.
let's talk about the speaker tonight.
Who's
Oh,
that?
that's me. Okay, that's enough talk. Sparkleshare. Has anybody used it besides me? No. Oh, okay.
Thought
All
about
right.
it.
Now, I'm using it on Fedora, and it does enable sharing and collaboration. Okay. The Fedora design team uses a Sparkleshare Git repository to do all their designs for stuff, and it automatically updates in everyone's folders for them. It is a file sync. It is essentially inspired by Dropbox. It does not have the issues that Dropbox has. Can anybody name those issues? Okay.
Salespeople tend to shove customer information into Dropbox.
Yes. So,
A password will do any password.
yes. So for instance, when you store a file in Dropbox, a hash is created to represent that file. If you upload another file into the system that's the same file, okay, let's save disk space and we'll just use the same reference we already have. So there might be 4 people who have the same file, but it only exists in one place, right? So if you know what that hash is, and you kind of make a file, you can kind of retrieve that file and get at it.
So it only have one copy. So let's say somebody had the Fedora 15 ISO up there, and you were to use the Amazon EC2 generated a similar Fedora ISO,
As long as your hash is the same.
which you can do.
Yeah.
Because your version would overwrite their version. We can
Right.
let these recent
I'm assuming that they're using MD5, but they're probably not. They might be using some extension of that, something slightly different. I'm just using that as an example. But they had a big problem with that earlier this year. It was March, and I had used Dropbox for about 3 months at that point. And I went, oh, but that's not what got me off Dropbox. What got me off Dropbox is their privacy policy changed. It used to say, employees do not have access to your files. It changed to say, you know, employees are restricted from viewing your files. It's 2 different things, right? So there are some other services out there. Have you heard of LaCie, the hard drive company? They have a package called Walla, W-A-U-L-A. And the difference between Dropbox and Walla is it's your encryption key that gets used to generate the encryption on the files. So when you send it up, nobody else can decrypt the file. The nice advantage to Walla is you can carve out 100 gig on your disk and say, here Walla, here's 100 gig. Use it for your service. So there might be other files in that 100 gig that you don't own that other people may have stored there, but it's sort of like distributed storage around the world. You don't have to give them storage, but typically if you allocate storage, they give you more storage to use. So it's kind of neat. I've seen people use it. I tested it for like a week and said, okay. I did not like the client as much. It was a Java client, and it kind of spun my CPU up. So I was just doing reviews.
Java does that sometimes.
Yes, it does. So Sparkleshare has been around for a little bit. I've seen it for about a year, and I never really played with it. But you can put it on your own server. You don't have to be beholden to anybody. Mine's running on my machine at home. Do you remember my Pogo plug from last year that I brought in. It's running on my Pogo plug. My Pogo plug had the bootloader change and it loads off another hard drive. So it's just running as a specific Linux box. And that's what it does. So it does use Git, SSH, WebKit, and Sharp. I'm trying to remember, is Sharp part of Mono? No, it's a separate language, isn't it? It's like C#. I can't quite remember. Check it. Go to the wiki.
Hi Siri.
She doesn't know where I am, so.
All it'll say will be, is this the information you requested? Ask her what the answer to life, the universe, and everything is. She'll say 42. And she'll say, I'm sorry that I can't do that. Surprise, surprise. It works under, yes.
What type of encryption can you use
I didn't look at that. I'm assuming like if you do a GPG file, it'll sync that over.
Okay.
So, it's still a really young project. They're only on like 0.25 right now. And they've been trying to concentrate on the other items. So like, I think the Android one has only been on their website for a couple weeks. And that requires a whole bunch of extra programs. You have to set up a web server and some things with that. And that was, so I didn't want to mess with it because it was pretty complicated. But Windows and iOS are planned, they just don't have them done yet. The Windows one will be interesting because, well, I guess it still uses SSH keys. They'll probably have to use the SSL EAY library in Windows. That's what PuTTY uses, I believe, for SSH. So you'll need a server, a client, and a computer, desktop, or a laptop, something like that. Everybody with me so far? Okay. Thank you. So, last night, I found out that there's a new version of Sparkleshare out that I did not have in the Fedora repos. Somebody else produced the file that I used, and it kept saying, "Hey, you need to update your version." So I built my own RPMs and updated on my box. The guy hasn't updated the Fedora RPMs in his repository since June. I hope he does it when 16 comes out, because I'd like to get the dashboard features, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So Git will be on your server. Obviously, a lot of this stuff's already going to come pre-installed on any machine that you've got, especially OpenSSH client. Server, probably not. You probably have to put that on. Everybody know how to create a key pair? Okay. So you'll kind of need that and to get yourself connected. So I did that earlier today. So this is my Pogo plug with its wonderful little CPU in there. The Shiva plug. It is not the fastest thing in the world, let me tell you. But it works. Not a lot of memory either. Then again, it doesn't generate much heat. So I've got my folder, my Sparkleshare folder. Oh, some of the stuff. So there is my OLUG folder. This is a Git repository right there. And to do that, that's pretty easy. Where's the command? Like that. It has to be a bare repo, so we'll call it OLUG2. That was fast. Certainly made that. So you could make several. So you could essentially make as many of those as you want and make separate repositories for people or yourself. Clone the Git folder on your client. So I have not done that part yet. And I didn't put the instructions in there. Ha, ha. Oops. I got way too much stuff going on. Bear with me, please.
Do not look at the man behind the curtain.
Don't look at the stains behind the man.
So on my client, I'm gonna make my Sparkleshare folder. They don't have the most easily findable item.
How do I Sparkleshare?
Yeah.
Or should I say the list?
The listings.
Everything is hidden within pages. How many people remember the git clone command? Just clone, isn't it?
Well, it didn't yell at you.
No, it didn't.
It won't if it's not working.
I haven't typed anything that far yet. Because you have to specify the name of,
What you're gonna clone.
yeah. Bear with me one moment, gentlemen.
Do you have a khaki body?
It's just so quiet. I hate when I do this.
Dun, 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 dun,
Maybe you
dun,
can put
dun,
dirtier
dun.
fans in your laptop.
Maybe if I what?
Put dirtier fans in your laptop.
Yeah.
I used to have a laptop like that.
I think we all had one at least one time.
It died a horrible death.
But it was a really cool portable laptop, wasn't it? When it
Yes.
started getting melted, yeah. It's good
Well,
stuff.
it did once I set it on fire.
It's an interesting smell too, when silicon-based boards start to burn.
No, simply a case of
Yeah, kind of figured it out. What's that?
SSH is the protocol.
excuse me.
Like that.
Yeah, that should do it.
Okay.
Says fatal.
Gotta turn the room around.
Dun, dun, dun.
That doesn't seem like it's working. But I could also do it like this. Name. OLUG.org.
I've done this before.
It's been several months. OLUG at
.org. 25. Folder name. OLUG 2. Sync. Something went wrong. Of course.
Full path.
In full path, is that what you said?
Yeah, full path.
Oh, okay.
Come on, John.
Well, you know
Hey,
how it works.
he's working on no sleep.
Cut him some slack. Oh, that's true.
I'm fine.
We learn more when shit been more, so.
There we go.
Bingo.
There. All right. So that's better. Is that better? Yay. Uh, Yay. 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 Selected independent. Yes. So when in doubt, use the GUI, right?
Ew, it's gooey.
So here it is, running down here. I can say show recent events. There are no, well, there's a text file. Oh, really?
Kelly's probably put the GUI price, stick something in there.
Oh, there was already a folder in there, so it couldn't. Ha! That's funny. So it renamed a new one, other than the one I cloned.
Ooh,
So
a 3-byte file would be.
what's it say? Smiley face. Wow. Oh, that was just one. Yeah.
It was a
So-
very emotional document.
Let's do this, right? Hello.text. Hello. Text. Hello world. Hello OLUG. Okay. Do.
I prefer Hotel World, but that's just.
What does the recent events show? Oh, look. A new file was created and a new file was edited. Right? So if we go back to the plug box. Hello. Sorry. I've got mail.
Incoming call from Bob.
Okay, so where? So much for showing you the
Objects.
files.
Look under objects.
No, it's all part of the Git repository.
Objects has a newer file date.
Well,
on it
that's
than
true.
The other ones. So like,
But that's where it's going to keep the revisions of said files, right? So like, binary, whichever.
That
So-
for reading that way.
Now
See?
you can, and I should probably just switch over to a working one. That sounds better. Testing. So there's the note I added. If you have a Gravatar account, it will put your icon in there. It pulls it so you have your picture. So if you're doing collaborative, like if you set up on GitHub or Gitorious, and all your people are working in the same folder, you see all their faces and all their commits and things that they've done.
make sure you pronounce that one correctly too.
Gitorious? Am I spelling it right?
Yes.
Oh, gee.
You have a bad brain. Don't bring that in here anymore.
Oh.
Better get out here on the way home.
We're recording.
Somebody needs to plan ahead when they come up with certain names.
Okay. All right.
Now that's fun.
We're just going to do this right now for the moment. This is one I've actually been using, so. Worked on my mom's Wi-Fi recently on the 20th. Then, wow, it's my checklist for when I went to the Nebraska
Wow.
Star Party. You know what? I didn't take 2 tables. I only took 1. Today, I changed that file. Let's go over to there's all my files. This looks a little bit better. This is what it's supposed to look like. Sort it by time. There's the big file right there. Better not pull open a Wi-Fi one.
Yeah.
Back.
I wanna get rid of that dating backslash.
Yeah, I need to get rid of that too. So this was a video to watch. So we're going to do this through the command line versus a GUI program. And it still recognized that I changed it. So it is watching that folder. So the client is actually doing the job of watching the folder. And it just uses SSH and Git in the background. Sits there, plugs away, and does its thing. So So if you actually watch the logs, the SSH just keeps connecting for all the Sparkleshare connections because you've set up that key pair, so you don't have to do the password authentication for stuff. It is supposed to have some amount of integration with Nautilus. So you actually get the special icon for the folder. So it'll look different. Obviously, this folder was my old Dropbox folder. This is my old to-do. Have you heard of to-do.txt before?
Excuse me.
It's a bash program for doing to-do lists. It stores them in text files. And there's a app for your Android phone that will log into the Dropbox account, reference the text files, and keep your to-do lists on your phone. They're all just plain text. What's that? Does that do the same thing?
And more.
Oh. Are you going to present that next month?
I like it.
What's Quake 2011.odp?
Oh, this is something I put together.
Earthquake.
Yeah, so this was a few days after the earthquake for the Anime Sunday people. I put this stuff up with videos as well as, I don't know if you've ever seen this chart, the radiation dosage chart.
Last time I dealt with that, they didn't have that temperature.
Right, it's essentially
Been a while.
XKCD radiation. It essentially breaks down the amount of radiation for a given event, and we can kind of look at that here in a minute. I have that thing on the keyboard where the touchpad gets disabled when you're typing. So there's a delay before the mouse picks up. Sparkleshare dashboard is the web code that the Android, I'm sure the iOS versions will be using. I'm kind of interested to see how they're going to do an iOS version, considering Apple is very restrictive and doesn't really like open source stuff in their App Store. VLC, Video LAN Client, was actually in there, and they pulled themselves out because they thought, you know what, we're not compatible with Apple's licensing and ideals and such. So it's best not to even play with it.
You really can't. You have to keep your signing keys private.
Right.
That's kind of breaks open source.
Mm-hmm. So that's a better out of it than me. Now I actually do have the app on the phone, and it says scan QR code or enter link. So I mean, it looks pretty, but I haven't really done anything with it. I downloaded this over the weekend. It'd be nice to play with. The Pogo Plug OS is based on Arch, and it wants to update itself to the most recent version. And when I did that, it jacked up the whole box. It wouldn't even boot anymore. So I'm really hesitant about getting rid of my nicely running little Pogo Plug box. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't need anything else other than what it's doing. It's backup for my music and pictures. And I can get at them with SSH, so that makes it pretty easy. But you can use the link code, which is this really long number, or you can scan the QR code with your phone and you're in. So it is pretty nice. I think I was trying to make this short for the concert. This really is short, isn't it? Yeah, it is 10 after 7. You can install the client on many computers to keep the same folder in sync. So if you have a desktop at home like I do and then use the laptop on the road, that's how I keep that folder in sync. I have not put all of my documents in there because I didn't want to have to deal with that. I've heard of some people who may have actually put their whole music folder in there. I can't do that because that's about 100 gig. And I just use rsync anyway, so that's fine. It should work across multiple platforms, but I have not tested it. I was going to use this Mac to test it, but time was not on my side. Guitorius and GitHub can be used with the software pretty easily. Okay. I said it right? Okay. Sparkleshare.org is where the software resides. There is a wiki on the dashboard on how to do the Sparkleshare dashboard. They mention 3 separate web type servers that you can use to do the install. One of them is called Express. I am not too familiar with Express. I've never heard of it. I would have thought it would be kind of cool if it was WebDAV because it's a little bit easier from a managerial standpoint, you know, because it's a standard that's already out there. Questions? Do you want to see something else?
Got a question on something else.
Well, okay. What is it?
Anybody got questions on this stuff? Before we move on?
I know it was quick and dirty. I threw it together. So that was my last night. In between trick-or-treaters. Speaking of which, does anybody want any candy?
Shut all the lights.
I have some Fiesta Starbursts and Tropical Starbursts. What was your question, Kevin?
Remember earlier I was having problems with USB drive being assigned SDA instead of
Yes,
SD
I remember that.
Still don't know how to fix that. Don't think it's fixable.
Oh, crap.
But something that's even worse has showed up.
Oh?
On one of my recording machines,
Your video recording?
PDRs,
Mm-hmm.
one of them has 2 identical cards, both hooked up to just straight up cable, no big deal. The other one has got a card that's hooked up to the cable box and a PCHD card pulling off
Is that the
My
PCHD
PCHD,
3000?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
of my antenna. Sometimes because that machine gets rebooted often, variety of reasons. And sometimes when it boots, one card is video 0, the other card is video 1, and other times they're reversed. Now, obviously, they are quite different purpose cards. So every time I do anything, I have to find out which one is which, because I have no way of knowing. That is very irritating. For as irritated as I was about an external drive getting assigned SDA, and everybody poo-pooed it.
Isn't there a way for you to assign which card gets which dev based upon the PCI slot?
There might be.
Yeah, but that's probably what's going on, is the hardware is probing it, and it's not probing the PCI slots the same every time. I have a machine that does that, and they show up
Or
different numbers.
the code, because of the parallel nature that things are booting up now. Now, this is all on a single processor system,
Mhm.
so it should generally always come up the same, but still. It's running a whole bunch of different things at once, and depending on which one hits a wait state, at what point, one of them may get to that critical atomic area where it gets assigned the video device in /dev before the other one does, but on a different boot, they happen at a different sequence. I can see how that kind of stuff happens when you have this parallel initialization going on, because I've dealt with these issues. I know how they work. But the solution I've come up with, I haven't tried it yet. But what I've come up with is to write UDEV rules and not ever use video 0, video 1. Have my own that is
References
pointer back,
the,
yes.
okay.
So I would have one that would be, cable box, one that would be HD antenna or whatever. And then for my recordings, I would always, I'd just use my own generated pseudo device.
Was it any different based on whether it was a cold boot or a warm boot?
I have not experimented with that. What I can tell you is, I have booted it in Fedora, and it was one way, and did just a reboot, command line reboot, from Fedora into Ubuntu, and then they were reversed in Ubuntu. So,
Trying to restore my network.
it's, these kinds of things, to me, repeatability, consistency, that kind of stuff are what operating systems should hold as, that should be above all else. And, you got security and stuff like that, of course, but once you get past that, the first level of user, where a user actually is involved in something, it should be the same every damn time. It should never be different until you change something with software, at least.
Gotta get away from Red Hat products.
It happens with Ubuntu,
Yeah, I know it, yeah, it's.
and I'll
gotta get away
guarantee
from
you,
that, too.
if I got a modern Slackware that's got a modern kernel, it's gonna have there, because it has absolutely nothing to do with distribution. It's the kernel that's doing it. This is all a kernel thing. It happens before you ever get to the init scripts.
Can you specify? There's got to be a way that you can do it on the kernel command line that appends it into the kernel.
And even
They
if
used
I,
to be able
even
to
if
do
I
that
can
with the
find ways
IDE.
around this kind of stuff, whether it's UDEV rules or whether it's something with the command line, now I'm into the situation where every time I install a new version, a new distro, whatever, I gotta remember all of these special things I gotta do on each one of every one of my boxes. Because I never do updates, in-place updates. I install fresh and copy stuff over. So now I gotta figure out how to make all these changes on every one of these that I do, and I do several a year. It used to take me on the order of 2 or 3 hours,
Is it
including
getting
the
longer
actual
each time?
install. I haven't gotten Fedora 15 finished yet. I put in over 36 hours trying to get it set up right. I'm getting a little irritated with this crap.
Maybe we need an OLUG distro.
I don't know.
Have you tried Mint?
No, but because of other issues, almost a year ago, I started playing around with Gen 2, and I'm starting to think maybe I need to go back to playing around with Gen 2.
You're back to 36 hours now. That's compile time, though. You can go get a snack and sleep during that.
Yeah, but it's not like I gotta remember, oh, and I got an SE Linux issue just popped up too.
SE Linux disabled, you know you want it.
Al's not here.
That's what I'm doing.
Yes, that would be Hal. Opening the SE Linux
All
bay
of a
doors.
sudden, this just happened, it wasn't a problem before, but all of a sudden, there was a new version of the Adobe Flash Player came out. I
What
let
the
Young
hey?
take care of it, and all of a sudden, nothing works. But because of Hal's presentation, I know what to look for in the messages file, Varlog messages. And I look, and sure enough, access denied.
No, you got the how-to for it.
So SE Linux was telling me I can't access that file anymore because it's got the wrong context. And I'm like, but it was just perfectly fine the first time I installed it. I installed the update, and all of a sudden it blows up. That shouldn't happen. Somebody that isn't knowledgeable about computers, especially a Unix type computer, especially a Unix type computer running SE Linux, they're gonna think this is garbage and go right back to Windows.
I cannot remember my stupid login.
These things should not happen.
Trust me for not doing all this stuff right. That's better.
Anyhow, I just found the SE Linux issue within the last couple of days, and I haven't really looked into it. Of course, I find the easy way around it. I just copy the file into the plugins directory and the
Mhm.
home directory, and it works then.
Did I do a presentation
Instead of
last
doing it
year
the
on
correct way, I just find the hack to get around it.
rsyslog? Do you remember that? Okay. I'm using this program called Log Analyzer. It's a PHP thing.
Okay.
And it's pulling all my logs out of MySQL and allowing you to go through, and it'll kind of give you some details, tells you what box, hover over it, gives you more of the message. But you can also go down and say, info, filter for info only. So it'll go through and pull out all the info records that it had found off every system.
Okay. Is this available in a non-web browser interface, just a standalone?
No.
So you have to set up an HTTP server,
Mhm.
whatever your
Yes.
syslog master is.
Yeah.
You said it's SQL based?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you wouldn't set it from the box, right?
Yeah.
Have the block your SQL server in
Wait, I thought it only is
I have one
SQL for
machine do
off.
50,000
Hmm?
different things at
I
once.
thought it only is SQL for optimization for, logging.
This isn't Windows, I don't need one box for each
The software will.
process.
But
Oh, rsyslog.
the data are
I've had as
syslog.
many as 240 active processes.
Not only is it going to
at
the
once on
file,
my
it's
whole
going to the
systems.
database.
Okay.
Do that in Windows, I dare you.
So
there. Reach and require a.
Computers are supposed to make everybody so much more productive.
It makes
All
my
it's done
very,
is it
very stressful
made
because my wife works on Windows. machines.
Companies employ a lot of more IT people. Keep that crap
Yeah,
from falling
Microsoft's
apart.
great jobs, right?
so
Yeah.
my wireless access point would always dump out these messages. Forwarder daemon successfully started. I mean, every 2 minutes that would shoot out.
That's irritating.
So if you put this line with the tilde in the rsyslog, it drops it.
So every time that shows up, it just
Right,
ignores
but
it.
it's hierarchical. So that's at the top before it does any of the other, varlog messages, varlog secure. So I don't want it. I know that it makes noise. I can get rid of it that way. I don't need to keep seeing it.
We should set every single machine. I guess if you're running a corporation, it makes more sense.
It does when you have 100
Yeah,
plus,
yeah,
Yes.
that, I agree.
and that's why
So-
that's what the secret's doing.
Also, it's running on 10.514 TCP, and it has a certificate right here. That's not internal, that's external. It might not be easy to find. Let me see if I can find it. This will be fun. Well, there it is right there. I shouldn't have even done the search. See this LN right there? That's my Linode box. So I'm porting all of my Linode logs over the internet to my firewall at home using a secure connection. So I have copies of all that too. So if something happens, I'll still have copies of the logs accessible.
Yeah, even if that hard drive totally pitches
Yeah.
it.
And I doubt it will.
It
But I
will
could
someday, though.
I could put, well, it's virtual private server.
Oh,
so.
yeah, okay, yeah.
But I could certainly watch this log for certain events
Right.
to know if someone's banging on something on the VPS.
In a different situation where you've
Yeah.
got a small office that's got a single
Mhm.
server or 2 or 3 servers, something like that, you could still have that pipe back to home. And then if the boot drive on one of those pitches it, and all the log files disappear,
Right.
you've got it sitting.
Now I have to prune this MySQL database every few months because it gets
It
pretty
gets big, yeah.
It gets pretty big. I mean, 89,000 log entries after a while tends to fill up.
Script that.
Yes, there
But
actually is
With
a
the tilde thing of ignoring stuff, you know that there's a whole bunch of those that you can safely ignore that come through, and you could make a much longer list of ignores like I have in my host file. I got a host file, what was it the last time I checked?
so
18K or something like that host file,
there's the statement.
telling it to ignore.
Delete from table where received at current date minus interval. So it goes back 120 days and gets rid of stuff. And then it just executes it.
I just brought a whole bunch of those add servers to 127.0.0.0. The obnoxious ones, I don't care, it's the ones that are obnoxious, I do that too.
Does anybody remember when Cox resets their bandwidth counters?
I didn't know they did.
Oh, you
I
got
didn't know they had
you
that.
get 250 gig. That's your limit.
Okay.
Not really. They say that they recommend you limit your bandwidth, but I've pushed 400 and they don't limit.
Really?
And
Okay.
gone up.
You get a nasty gram sometimes.
Yeah, they send you emails saying please can you reduce your bandwidth use, but they never follow.
Yeah. They'll throttle you.
I've
or-
called and chewed it out because the last 3 months I've been getting a quarter of the bandwidth I should be. Then I used to get full bandwidth, and then I dropped down to barely getting 768 now. I paid for the medium too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe your neighbors have gotten more.
Nah, change your
No, they
MAC,
don't. I've
change the
already
MAC
tried.
address on your, on whatever device you're connected to, and
I
reset
have,
it.
I've been rotating it every couple of weeks. And I know my neighbors isn't because they have open Wi-Fi and they're barely using a gig a month.
But they'll be using more soon.
I'm glad to see somebody caught that statement he was making.
Seemed obvious.
They can do filtering on the ARP address on the cable modem too, so if they flag you,
Sure.
they'll do that.
Yes, but it's only a matter of days before I rotate it. I rotate vendors every week or so,
Yeah.
so.
Vendor cable modem?
I changed the entire,
Oh, on the
MAC
MAC address.
Yeah, but I'm.
He's
there's
talking
a-
about-
There's a separate ARP MAC address for the cable modem that's hard coded, you
I
can't
know.
change it. And once they identify that,
Yeah,
they'll do a
That's the
filtering
one that
based
they're
on
gonna
that.
use too, is that one.
They don't normally do that, because it causes problems. But you guys know that the cable modems are limited to, 20 barb entries?
Really?
Yes. If you have more than 20 machines hooked to one of those cable modems, they'll go batshit crazy.
Interesting.
hard-
But that's if you're using a switch that's hooked up to the cable modem.
Correct.
Not if you have a
Right.
firewall
Yeah.
between it.
Yeah,
That's
not
good
if
to
you have a
know.
firewall.
It's
That's-
like, I've had one that connected up at once.
Okay.
That
Only have
happened,
firewalls that-
one of the clients that I have, they're running their own Metro Ethernet with Cox, and a couple of their locations are HFC,
Yeah.
no fiber, so they just have cable modem sitting there. Well, they don't have a firewall on it, because it's all internal.
Mhm.
Well, you can figure out why the damn thing would keep freaking
It
out.
would wig out.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know, because
They can fix it. They go, if it's a Motorola Surfboard, one of the newer ones, there's something they can do to fix that. They set the timer so it times out the arc address really
oh,
rapidly.
the TTL is a shorter length for the ARC
Less than a
tables.
second, supposedly.
Wow.
So it just dumps the table all the time.
Wonder if that
Well,
heats
that's an
it up.
interesting hack to get around it.
Yeah,
Well,
if I had to
anyway.
Put another, put a router out there at every location.
There's my
Or you
traffic
get one of those
for
cheap
now.
NAP routers like I got for home use.
That's my
Yeah,
number.
but banks don't like stuff like that on their network.
So, when you get rid of cable TV and you start streaming all your video over Amazon and stuff,
Not me.
your number tends to go up. Although you said yours was 400, I'm nowhere near your number.
There's I average around 200 now.
So you can actually put rules in your IP tables to produce those. So you can keep track of your own bandwidth.
Oh,
The next thing I want to
I'd like
do
that.
is I want to be able to reset that on my billing cycle date and then graph it. So I have
Well,
a graph
look on
of
your bill and see what it claims
Yeah.
the end date
Yeah.
is.
I don't
Now,
get paper bills
is that
anymore,
at
I just have to look at it.
midnight, 12:01 a.m. or is
Yeah.
it noon, what time of day? But if you're within a day resolution, you're at least gonna be close.
So where's
What's
the,
that IP tables rule that does that part?
Hang on, I'm trying to. There it is.
Initialize bandwidth counters?
Yep.
Okay.
So you're just assigning it with a name, right?
What's
I just called it traffic.
D for,
So this is destination and source.
okay.
So that's internal network stuff.
But since I don't have everything running through one box, it's not gonna work too good for me. Unless I hack my router and put Linux on that.
No?
It supposedly is one that you can do that with.
Maybe.
Was that DDRT, DDWRT, whatever it is?
Yep.
I've never done it. I don't have a need to, cause I
It's
don't do a lot of
almost
the
a
stuff.
layer 3.
I don't, I have 0 ports open and that's why it's gonna stay at least for a long period. I have no need to open a port, so I don't see a purpose in putting DD word on it.
Performance.
Yeah.
You can schedule reboots like every morning at 5 a.m. reboot the router.
What good's that gonna do?
Sometimes.
No, it's time to go to bed.
Quit playing poker, go to bed, damn it.
Well, I recycle some older Linksys equipment that way. I reboot it every in the morning.
What, for what gain? What,
Before I did it, I used to have people complain, "Oh, the wireless is down. The wireless is down."
yeah.
And
I
since
don't
I
use
did
the
the
wireless.
scheduled the scheduled reboot, they stopped complaining.
Okay,
Some of that older hardware just, bleh, you know.
yeah.
My
Okay,
mom's
it's
Linksys router does it all the time. I gotta unplug it and plug it back in.
It's just to fix a problem with the
Yeah.
hardware.
But hers isn't one that I can do DD work to. I just need to swap it out. If I buy an Asus 520 UG, perfect. You don't even have to hack the thing. You use Asus's firmware loader and load the DD wort right onto it.
I used to use it when I had like those honor devices. But I've burned through all of my honor devices after about 5 years of uptime. The last one died. So I just went with Aeronex. But the recent job I did, I got about 20 of them free.
Which version?
The 12,
1200, 1231.
1231 days, so. Just decided I get better ambulance now. Because I got, the box itself was this big, the fodder, with the wires in it, put in my whole house. Now this one, I can walk down the block. The thing is.
There's no FCC rules that are. There's no breaking of those, obviously.
I haven't had problems before.
I was on
Well,
my,
they're unlicensed, so nobody's gonna complain.
Oh, that's true.
on my laptop that's got built-in Wi-Fi. It was picking
What type
up
of antenna is it?
the hotel.
What type of antenna?
I think it was the hotel. Or maybe it was the bar. But it was a business. What other business is gonna be closed?
Craig, what was the name of that?
They had two. One of them was just whatever, it wasn't, something hotel.
Sure.
But the other one was the same thing, _guest, so I just figured it was the hotel.
Yeah.
How far is the hotel from my place? That's gotta be close to a half
Oh, you mean the
mile.
Holiday Inn Express?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
3/8 of a mile
Now,
minimum.
they may have the transmission peaked up
Yeah.
to broadcast over the range,
Just 'cause
but
you're
the
in
receiver
beacon
doesn't
you're
necessarily
working
mean
with
it's.
it.
True, I never tried to connect to see if I could get it.
I can see the guys
'Cause
up
my
on the 8th
laptop
floor
trying to
of
connect
this
over
building,
there.
but I can't do
Yeah.
anything with
My
it.
laptop trying to send the signal that
Well,
distance,
tell you
I don't
what.
think it's gonna work.
What's that, Wi-Fi? Get a Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It will do what you're wanting to do.
Oh, yeah.
What am I wanting to do?
You want to connect to it?
Not really. There's 3 of them that are
There it is.
within 100 yards of my house that are open.
Was that Millard's that owns that, or do you own that? You own that. So,
What's that?
it is,
Nothing.
it's this little wireless device that plugs in over USB, and it's directional, so you aim it where you want it to go. And 1,000 feet,
This is the Pringles can, but it's an actual
a
manufactured
production
device.
version, yes.
It's easier to burn out a tumor with this one than with the It's too wide a.
Paper doesn't start on fire, right?
But yeah, you brought it in once, right?
Yeah.
It was-
We did
it
a,
was-
How much are they anyway?
they're like $30.
I wish I knew about this when I was still in North Dakota.
What does it run? Oh, cool. So,
Hey, there you go.
Alright.
It's not gonna reach a rapid city.
No, okay.
Depends on
Yeah.
how many you
Well,
have. It's wireless.
It was very
No,
cool. It said
Wilson
from
had- I was in Wilson
from
and Wilson, where there's no Wi-Fi. I could plug it straight at it.
158th and Harrison, and down the hill just a little bit, right about there where Black Elk Elementary is off of Harrison Street. A friend of mine, he lives down that road about 3 blocks. He is able to pick up and connect to the truck stop wireless. Now
From
he
where
did not
on
get
Harrison?
he did not get very good throughput at all.
Yeah, but the fact that
I can
you
put
put
it-
that, that's
connected.
pretty neat.
From where on Harrison
Black Elk Elementary.
Street? Was it 180 something or 150 something?
159th, 160th.
Okay.
As you crest the hill,
56, okay.
you head north. Like I said, he's about 2 blocks, 3 blocks up that.
About a mile and a half.
I
Yeah.
don't know where schools are at, I know streets. Remember what I used to do.
It's a
So-
truck driver,
And that's
right?
without a parabola.
So
Imagine putting that in a parabola.
Oh, jeez.
It sounds like, this is totally off subject, but it sounds like Miller Public put in a deep packet inspection firewall.
They did.
Did they?
Actually, we had one previously, and it was
Well,
so.
they got it configured properly, because OpenVPN doesn't work anymore. One of my partners uses it out at West, and doesn't work anymore.
Matt,
Yeah, it doesn't work over SSH, none of that. Now,
The
we
new
can get it to
product-
work though, if we tunnel to a SSH proxy, then it works fine.
What we used to run was called Deep Nines, and it was an impressive
They.
piece of shit.
you don't work there anymore.
As we,
It's still wee. It's still fresh. It still burns in the mind.
Since you were part of the one doing it, it was we.
Oh hell no! I had nothing to do with
Had
that
nothing
shit.
to do with that stuff.
Pardon my French.
You still recording?
Do I need to record anymore?
No, please, no.
All right.
Watch your language then.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.